So it looks like there were changes made to Anthem that we are not aware about. Some changes that were not mentioned in the recent patch notes. So that's what we're going to be talking about today, as well as a few other things, including explaining what is going on with the loot drop rarities and how often you're getting rarities. So yes, a lot to talk about. So hey everyone, what's up? Open World Games here. Hope you all are doing good, and let's do this. So let's start off with right here, Bioware secretly adding stuff to the game and also nerfing stuff. So this was the post here. It says, from Bigfoot's Willie, who says this: listing only buffs in the patch notes and no nerfs is shady. There were a lot of unlisted changes in the patch. And it goes on to say this: title said, I wanted to give you guys the benefit of the doubt as the Masterwork Universal Components and Masterwork Support items were added in this patch without notes. So maybe some other updates were accidentally rolled forward into this patch. So that could actually be the case. However, he goes on to say this: that being said, if that's not the case, that's really not cool. Honestly, besides the Harvest nerf, they're not even really that bad, with some probably being deserved. Sometimes you have to nerf stuff, and people can usually accept that if you just add an explanation with it. I agree. I think that everything that is done to the game with patches needs to be explained, of course. Maybe some things were missed. Furthermore, here are all the known unlisted changes so far. It says this: Masterwork Universal Components and Masterwork Support abilities added. He says this: I haven't seen the support abilities myself, but I saw a few comments here and there from people mentioning they've got some. Now, I did actually get a Universal Component, and it was for my ultimate. Now, Winter's Wrath, it says Ice Storm nerfed from 1940 damage to 746. Possibly worked like this before. Just a correction to the tooltip. And then Chaotic Rhyme, it says Ice Shards nerfed to 74 damage per hit from 223. Possibly worked like this before. Just a correction to the tooltip. Furthermore, it says this: Amulet of Winter nerfed from 40% gun damage to 20% on proc. Possibly worked like this before. Just a correction on the tooltip. And once again, it says that Masterwork Ember drop rate seems to have been severely nerfed from plants mining nodes, harvesting and crafting nerf. And then Epic Special Arms ammo, a Universal Component nerfed to 15% from 30%. And then other Epic Universal Components buffed to 15% from 5%. But the big one there that I'm noticing a lot of people complaining about is the Masterwork Ember drop rate being nerfed. And honestly, I have played the game. I played 6 hours yesterday on stream, and I got very little in the way of Masterwork Embers. So that's another thing that's noteworthy. And I know those are super important to basically re-roll your Masterwork. So I don't know why they would even consider nerfing that. So I don't know. Let me know what you guys think of that, if you think that's a problem or not. Alright, next up it says Amulet of Winter has been bugged, turned into the Mark of Ruin, and vice versa. Neither of them displayed elemental damage percentage values. Increased the amount of dailies and weeklies needed for the monthly without increasing the monthly reward. And increasing the amount of objectives in the daily, 6 world events instead of 3. More coin, but twice as long. May not be new, just a less common daily. Enemy damage output increased with scaling. Also, Winter's Wrath recharge was also increased to 5 from 4. Soothing Touch, Masterwork Anvil recoil reduction per shot went from 50% to 30%. And then this one, Truth of Tarsus has a wonky damage change. Some are reporting increased damage, some decreased, possibly because base damage increased and crit multiplier reduced. Regardless, the way it calculates output damage has changed. Now, that's an interesting one, because I have been using the Truth of Tarsus on occasion. I've noticed, like, my damage output has decreased. And I'm like, well, did I remove a component or something that gave me a buff with my sniper rifle damage? And I looked back through my previously saved loadouts, and that wasn't the case. So I agree with the word wonky there. So definitely some interesting stuff going on with the Truth of Tarsus. Let me know if you guys have been experiencing the same thing or not. Alright, so also the poster here, wanted to give some credit here. Credit to Kayaria on the main thread, who I saw listed most of these changes on the patch thread, and then Nikanu, whose thread I saw mentioned the changes to dailies and weeklies. So I did want to drop that in there to give some credit. Alright, also the gameplay you are seeing, remember, is from My live streams, join me on my streams. I stream daily at fb.gg/openworldvideogames. Drop on by, say hello. Would love to have you guys in there. Of course, I've been seeing more and more of you guys dropping in, which is great to see. We always test out stuff in our streams. I squad up with a bunch of people as well, as often as possible. I hope to squad up with more of you in the future. Now, I consider a lot of the stuff critical feedback. And, you know, when you get into just bashing the developers and stuff like that, that's where you get into harassment, of course. And that has been a concern lately. Now, Bioware is definitely to blame for many of the problems that Anthem has had, its rough launch, and so on and so forth. But this was a post here posted by James. He says this: your whole team is clearly incompetent at game design and implementation. Every time you release a new fix, you have something else up. Now, Quick Play has no map points. Seriously, do you even know how to turn on the computer, much less actually write code? And the response was from one of Bioware's own, who says this is how you get blocked. I'm more than happy to have a good conversation and debate, but abusive BS like this is not in bounds. And yeah, I agree with that. You know, again, yes, Bioware has had some missteps with this game for sure, but they've also made some big strides with actually fixing and addressing a lot of the problems, and they've released tons of patches. Yes, I would have preferred this game to have launched perfectly. You know, Apex Legends is a great example of a very smooth launch. Man, how I would have loved that for Anthem, but we're sitting here now. That's not just the case. That's not the case. But one way you can improve the game going forward is to actually give really good feedback in a respectful manner. So I do think that is a very important takeaway for this and for anything in life in general, basically, going forward. All right, so let's talk about the recent adjustments to the loot drops and stuff like that. So let us begin right now. So this was posted out there by Kickass Inc., who says this: dungeon loot update, a tale of numbers with 200 items pre-patch versus 200 items post-patch. So this guy, he went into Anthem and really did some amazing number crunching and played the heck out of it pre-patch and then post-patch. He was actually working on like some number crunching beforehand anyway, and then he's like, hey, you know what, I can compare stuff before and after patch. So that's exactly what he did. But he did put this: thanks everyone for the upvotes. After reading all the comments, I just wanted to reiterate a comment I made below that I'm still enjoying the game. I understand this game needs some fixing, and yes, my loot run was disappointing, but I have trust that this game will only get better. The game is still in its infancy, and I truly believe there's something special here. I have not had this much fun in a shooter game in a long time. I will support the game as much as I can, knowing the devs are listening to feedback and making updates as quickly as possible, which, by the way, Chad Robertson has acknowledged his loot issue in his Twitter post here. So, very respectful again. I think that's how you do it. So, here we go. He says this: yesterday, after reading this post about the loot in dungeons, I set about to test the drop rates, not knowing the patch would drop this morning. For about 5 solid hours, all I ran was Grandmaster 1 free play non-event dungeons, maxing out my inventory 4 times for a total of 200 pieces of loot. I wanted a large pool to get some good statistics on the drop rarities. Then this morning, after learning about the patch update, I wanted to see the difference. So with the same gear, I ran more Grandmaster 1 dungeons and started to notice a bad pattern. I therefore decided to bite the bullet and again max out my inventory 4 times for a total of 200 pieces of loot. So this is his findings. So here are my pre-patch numbers. Common 17 items at 8.5%, uncommon 24 items at 12%, 34 items for rare at 17%, epic items for 102 items at 51%. Lots and lots of purples. That's what I've been noticing even after patch. And then it says this: masterwork 21 items at 10.5%, and legendary 2 items at 1%. Sadness. All right, so what about post-patch numbers? It says this: rare 28 items at 14%, epic 163 items, guys, at 81.5%. Again, purples, purples, purples. And then Masterworks actually got a reduction, it seems, 7 items at 3.5%, and then legendary 2 items at 1%. So you can see beforehand here how he was getting 21 items for the Masterworks, and then suddenly he was getting 7 items. So yikes. Let me know if that is your case. Now, from my time, let me speak to that a little bit here. So from my personal experience with the Masterworks, I did get a few Masterwork drops. More than a couple during my time yesterday playing the game. Some were okay, most were worthless. But again, you know, I think it comes down to with the loot itself. I just think it needs to be more unique. I think that, yes, we want more powerful gear, more powerful weapons. Sure, that sounds awesome. But also, even if it's like the same power level as my current light machine gun, I want something that behaves differently, does something completely different, surprises me in that way, you know, its behavior is different. Even if it's just as powerful, I'm like, dang, that is really cool. Maybe a new effect or something like that. Maybe explosive bullets, maybe a laser or something different. So something unique. And I think that's needed for the loot. So I know I've said that before, but I'm going to say it again, reiterate that. But yeah, his findings were definitely very interesting, and that was his experience. And let me know what you guys are feeling, if you're feeling the same way from his experience overall. I am extremely curious. But yeah, let's go over some top comments right now. Remember, leave a comment down below. Could end up in the video, so let's do this. First comment comes from Mike Wallaby. He says this: the problem really seems to be the loot doesn't have a lot of diversity to begin with. Each archetype has only a few of each type. I love the core of the game and the gameplay. It's so damn amazing. But to say content is lacking is an understatement. Content and loot both very lacking. So what they're to play for. Definitely going to go jump into Division 2 on Tuesday for a few months and give Anthem some time in the oven, because I really do love the game. They need to learn from Division 1. People were clamoring for story content. Now Division 2 will have an expansion that all includes story progression. They really need to look at mistakes others like Destiny Division 1 made and learn quick. I love this game, but I finally have to admit it wasn't fully baked, sadly. So that was one of the top comments on there. Let me know how many of you guys also would like to see Division 2 content as well. Curious about that one as well. I had fun on stream playing that one. But next one is from We Are Legion. Can I just get legendary drops all day for my B-Day? Thanks. Yes. Bioware. So on his birthday, what you should do is have like a 15-minute window where it's just 100% legendaries dropping for this guy. Do it. Next comment comes from Agent 1212, who said a reason to get loot would help. There's no incentive to be stronger. There's no reward for top difficulty. What do you need a super build for to run Tyrant Mine? But why? Yeah, that's another thing there. And again, that coincides with what I was saying beforehand. Like, even with Borderlands 2, a lot of the loot hunt, yeah, sure, you were getting more powerful weapons, but they were extremely unique, like very unique weapons. Like, holy crap, I didn't know this weapon could do this. So that's the sort of thing that I want to see in the future. And, you know, it has been confirmed by the gameplay designers and stuff that we will be getting new weapons and new loot. I'm just hoping that this thing turns around, you know, by summer. That's what I'm hoping for. I'm hoping that it's turned around a lot faster than what we saw with Battlefront 2. But guys, thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned here to Open World Games for more Anthem and, of course, Open World Gaming goodness. And again, yeah, let me know if you want to see a little bit more in terms of the Division 2 updates. That's another one I'm super excited for. We are getting so close to the launch of that one. But, yep, thanks, guys, for watching. And I will see you next time, and take care.